Yes, that's right.
Oh, Mukam. Nice, nice. Welcome, welcome. So today we are embarking on a wonderful journey. We are going to dive into the nectar that is Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And this is right at the beginning. Basically, you have all these wonderful speakers that when they speak, oftentimes they give a little synopsis, a little introduction. We found that in chapter 7 when we were doing the memorization. Krishna was giving like a little bit of like an intro or a little bit of an appetizer or just kind of getting us interested in the topic. You find that in the whole Bhagavad Gita. Krishna does that. In the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he gives an overview. And in the 18th chapter, he does the same thing. He gives a summary. And even like chapter 9, he again whets our appetite, gets us interested. So this chapter 2 is the entire science of Bhakti Yoga is summarized in chapter 2. There's described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur 9 different stages of bhakti. Those are all given in this chapter. I think it was Jiva Goswami. He also divided it into 14 stages, even more like precise. And those are all given in these verses and part of these verses of this chapter. In the previous chapter, all the sages have gathered at Naimisharanya, and they presented their questions to Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami was there when Parikshit Maharaj was inquiring from Shukadev Goswami. Does anybody here not know who Shukadev Goswami is? Everybody have that? Know that? How do you pronounce it correctly?
Zashali. Yeah.
Zashali. And where are you from originally?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Bienvenidos.
Gracias.
So Zashali, you all know Shukadev Goswami. Everybody know? Okay, so yeah, he is there, and everyone knows that Sutta Goswami, he was there during that dialogue, and so they want to hear, they want to get their questions answered, and so he's answering with referring to this wonderful talk between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadev Goswami. So they just started to present their questions. Charlie G, welcome. Charlie G, where are you calling in from?
From Lansing, Michigan.
Nice, nice. It's nice and hot there all year long.
No, I wish. It's 17 degrees right now.
17, yeah.
Kind of cold.
How far is that from Detroit?
Oh, about 2 hours. A little more than 2 hours, possibly.
Well, welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for adding me.
So, just presenting that this chapter is an overview of the entire science of Bhakti Yoga. And did any of you get to open up the email?
I didn't receive an email.
Charlie didn't get an email. Let's get Charlie an email. Carlos, did you get an email?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
You got an email? Did any of you get a chance to open it up?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Bhagavatam. Okay, so those who've been did the shloka class before, we know we took advantage of the brilliant brahmachari, now sannyasi. He was known as Sutapadas. Now he's S.B. Keshava Swami. And he's written a number of books, but some of my favorites are his Bhagavad Gita in acronyms, where he takes an entire chapter and makes a beautiful acronym that shows the flow of the conversation. Because as you're seeing in the Wisdom of the Sages, you see that it's not just one verse. The verses go together to flow to speak about a specific point. So one simple example is chapter 15. The acronym is what? Carlos, what's the acronym?
I want to say head. I'm not too sure.
Chapter 7. That's chapter 7. Yeah. Home.
Okay, gotcha.
So the first 6 verses of chapter 15 discuss whether this world is our home or a hotel. So that's the letter H. The next verses 7 through 11 discuss O, which means over and over and on again, which is discussion of reincarnation. The verses 12 through 15 discuss M, which is maintainer of body, mind, and soul. Krishna says sunlight, moonlight, fire, the power within everything that comes from me. Even the power of your digestion, it comes from me. Even the power of your mind comes from me. And then he says, even the Vedas, so mind, body, even this for the soul, I supply this spiritual knowledge. So maintainer. And then E stands for essence, where he sums up the essence of the Gita, describing that there are the liberated souls, there's the conditioned souls, and then there's God. And those who are wise and understand this render their unalloyed devotional service unto the Supreme Being. And so that's HOME. That's the flow of the conversation. So I made a little tiny attempt to try to do one of those because they're not easy. Let's see. So the attempt I made for chapter 2, for this chapter that we're studying, is divine. And I'm kind of want to see if I can find another word for the middle, the V in the middle, because it's a little bit, it's already overused, and you'll see. So the first D is for dignify. And so in these first verses, they're referring to Masuti Goswami. He congratulates the people, saying, oh, thank you for these amazing, wonderful questions, prashnas. That's how you say in Sanskrit. How do you say question? Prashna. Like if I remember on the show they had the Vedic astrologer, and there's sometimes you can just have an astrology done just for a question, a prashna. So it kind of sounds similar. You have any prashnas? You have any questions? Prashnas? Sounds a little similar. And so this beginning, verses 1 through 5, is kind of the D is for dignify. He's glorifying them for their questions, and he's glorifying the person who gave the answers, Sukadeva Goswami. So there's nice glorification of Sukadeva Goswami there. And then the answers start coming after that. So what was the I? What did I have for I?
Have your own bar if you want it.
What's that? I don't know if that was a question for us or Charlie G. Did you have a question for us? Or did you need to mute the phone?
Sorry, yeah, I just need to mute it. Sorry, Prabhu.
Okay, no problem.
Driving my daughter to work.
Invaluable. Their question was, what is invaluable? What is the greatest good? So that's the I. And then the next letter, that's verses, 6 and 7. So the next verses, I wanted to put another word because it's just kind of repetitive, because I was invaluable, and the V in this acronym is valuable. It's like, that's too ridiculous. They're like, oh, come on. So I got to go through the whole dictionary and find something that fits that section. But the next one I like. The next one is talking about those stages. The next section of verses after that is increments. That's a good word. And then what is, hold on. Bhakti stages. And then he talks about controlling beings within the universe and how to understand. So he's talking about how to navigate and understand it. So I like that one. And the last one is E. And he's talking about Krishna's expansions. So E. Karuna is here. Welcome, Karuna. Jai.
Hi.
Welcome, welcome. Karuna from Lebanon. She is our star hero here. Yes, put your seatbelt on. Hare Krishna. Oh, take your seatbelt off and go into the house. It looks like you're done. All right.
No. I just got a drink.
Still driving. Okay. Okay. So that is a little bit of very, very brief overview of the chapter. It starts off with the kind of dignifying, glorifying the questions, glorifying the speaker. Then it talks about what's invaluable. That's the big question. That's the first question that they ask. We hear all these scriptures, but what is really the most important thing? So what's invaluable? And then we got to find, another word for the second letter, the V, because that's just too redundant. Valuable. And then increment, stages of bhakti, navigating, understanding the different controllers, and then E, the expansions of Krishna, those like avatars that manifest the universe. So that's really brief overview of this chapter. Any questions so far? We'll talk about the whole process of memorization and all that stuff pretty soon, but any questions? Anybody hear any questions? Just unmute yourself and have any of you who are new to this class, have you ever tried to learn and memorize a Sanskrit verse? Maybe not a verse, maybe a song. Zashali? A little bit?
Somewhat. I think when I went on pilgrimage in October, so we learned, I think, like to memorize two verses or stanzas, maybe.
Do you still have them in your head? Are they
Let's see. I'd have to really think about it. I feel like on the spot, but it's about Lord Jagannath and let's see, he playing his flutes on the river banks of the Yamuna. The second one I remember more. It's like he has a peacock feather in his head, and on his hips he wears yellow silken cloth.
This is like a long one. These are Jagannastikam?
I think so, but just those first two. So that's all.
Okay. So some of the key points here. How many of you have done memorized more than 5 verses? Kylie Brown, I know. Vishvamuka. Did I say it right?
Close. Vishvatomuka.
Vishvatomuka. So one thing that often we find devotees do is they memorize 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 verses, and they sometimes start to lose their steam because they put in the work and they find it doesn't always stick, and so they lose a little bit of their enthusiasm or maybe some of their stamina to go for it and learn more verses. And so one thing we've discovered is that learning a whole string of verses that naturally go together, a chapter, can be a lot easier than learning important verses. Why is that? Because any fool can sing a song. Verses is if you know this verse, that verse, this verse, that verse, you have to have first the opportunity to use it on a regular basis. You have to have the intelligence to put it all together to use it on a regular basis. And you might not have either of those. But any fool can sing a song. And so if we think about how many songs do we know, we can't even forget the lyrics, even if we try to. They're just stuck there. So chapter 2 of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is 34 verses. We'll be able to eventually chant this whole chapter in 4 minutes. It's about 40 verses is about 4 minutes worth of chanting if you're going really fast. Chapter 15, we see Carlos, if he's practicing on it, he can do it 2-3 minutes. Chapter 7, 30 verses, do it 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And if you were to do this, the hard work in the beginning, there's a little bit of hard work. We try to dive into, like I say, there's a pond and then there's a well. So you can have like a general knowledge of many things. But this chapter of the Bhagavatam is going to be your well. You're going to I'm going to dig as much as I can out of this chapter. I'm gonna say I don't know anything about the Bhagavatam except for this chapter. And you're gonna, lately I've been listening to lectures. We went through about 15 lectures so far of this chapter by Srila Prabhupada. We're trying to dig deep and find out as much as we can. We'll find that different speakers will refer to the various words and open them up very nicely. Like I learned this nerdy fact that the word, the prefix un is the same prefix we have in English, un. Like if you say you're unwell or unhappy, that like ananya, without any other, it's the opposite. Even so the an and you learn all these different things about the different words, and when you learn the meaning of the words and you learn the verses, it's very easy. Instead of just rote English memorization, you learn the meaning of the words. And even if you were to, Kylie, do you still have your chapter? Do you still have it in your head? She's looking for the unmute.
Yeah.
You still have it.
I do. I didn't finish all of 7, but I have the verses memorized. They're in there.
You and Carlos need to meet. So it takes, once you do all this work, it takes a little bit of maintenance. Even if you were to recite it once a week, spend 4 minutes once a week, you're going to have a whole chapter of the Bhagavatam memorized. Sometimes you might have to go back and fix, go back and read, and you find out, sometimes Sanskrit verses are very similar, and you'll borrow a word or miss up a syllable or something like that. But it does stick a lot more than the important verses, and it kind of drives you like, okay, I did this chapter, let me do another chapter, let me do another chapter, like that. So let's look. So let's look at the verse. Verse is very simple. That's why I'm talking a whole lot. And we haven't dived into the verse because the first verse is actually very simple. The commentary, you'll see the purport is very, very short. Even Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's is very, very short. So the Sanskrit is Vyasa Uvacha Iti Samprashna Samhrishto Vipranam Roma Harshanahi. Not that the Sanskrit is super simple, but the content. Pratipuja Vachastesham Pravaktum Upachakrame. So those who are new to the study, looking at these Roman transliteration, the C is always cha. C is always cha. Anybody see any words that look kind of familiar?
Yeah, there's a few words that come up on different chapters. So Tesham is one that I can kind of recognize. Iti is another one that often comes up. Uvacha is very often comes up on probably all the chapters. Yeah, those are the ones that I can recognize at least.
Nice. Yep. And there's a few roots, and this is something that I think it's we might have spoke on this verse, but it's this like nectar of instruction. There's this vachovegam, manasakroda vegam. Vacha is your speech. There's another verse in the Bhagavad Gita 17. The tanmaya vak uchate, the austerities of speech. So vacha, vak, vacha and vak are this voice, this speaking. So you see these two words, pravaktum and vachas. So let's look at so Ugashrava, it doesn't say anywhere in the verse Ugashrava, but it says this is the sage, Sutta Goswami. He's given 3 names there, Romaharshanai, the son of Romaharshana, Sutta Goswami, and Ugashrava, 3 different names. Okay. Some prashna. Do you have any prashnas? Narayani, what is prashna?
A question.
Some prashna. And what is some? Anybody remember what the root some is? Like they say sankirtan, Sanskrita.
Does it mean holy? That's what I think of.
Whole. Complete. Like you have kirtan, but it's more complete when you do it with others. So it's sankirtan. Sankrita means the language that is perfectly done. Completely perfectly done. So these are perfect questions. How many heard the book? Perfect questions, perfect answers. So this is samprashna. Perfect question. These are awesome questions. Thank you. This is what he's feeling. He's feeling such like, oh, I love it. You guys, and I was just in Kentucky and I can't talk to anybody about these questions, but you have talked. You brought in these samprashna, these perfect questions. Samhrishta. I'm just guessing here. Hrishta, I'm not sure if it relates to the heart, because it's hridaye, delighted. Hrishta. Let me see if we can look. The cool thing is, you click on any of those words. Do you see that? If you click on any of those words, it'll take you to Vedabase, and you can delete. You can play with the Sanskrit and find other parts. Trishta, being very pleased, great happiness. I'm finding different parts. Joyfully, hair standing on end, joyful, glad and pleased. So he's like perfectly satisfied. So these questions, these perfect questions, it's like Prabhupada took the book, the name, straight from this verse. Do you see it? Perfect questions, perfectly satisfied. I guess perfect answers. Not really, that word doesn't mean answers, but it's perfectly satisfied. And Vipra. Vipranam. Vipra. Anybody heard of this word before? It means someone who is learned. It really means like a mature brahmana. In the beginning, he might be a certain level, but then when he becomes realized and well educated, he becomes Vipra. Vipranam. Roma Harshanaihi. That's a hard one there. Roma. Vipranam. Roma Harshanaihi. So if you're looking there, those who are new to this chanting, you'll find that I forget the word is for the H with the dot. Does anybody remember the word for the H with the dot?
Visarga?
Visarga. Okay, and why is it asking? It's saying time remaining 8 minutes. I think I have to log in.
And
1 second.
Well, actually, still on the list. It's not done.
It's giving me a 7. It's giving me a countdown, but I'm supposed to, because I moved to this computer and I was logged in on the phone. Let me see. How do I don't want to get us kicked out. We have a. Okay, we'll deal with that in a little bit. So the Visarga, Sashali, do you see that H with the dot? Do you know what that is? Kind of sound that is? Okay, so the H with the dot, it becomes
when it's like in the middle of a word, like at the end of a word, but in the middle of a line, or like in the end of like the first or third, you like release air silently, and if it's at the second or fourth, you pronounce it as like ha, or whatever following consonant is behind it.
very good, very good, very good. Okay, let me just log in. So as she was saying, if you look at it, it's following in the second line. If you look at the Sanskrit, you see that colon symbol in the Sanskrit. So that's the H with the dot. When it's written in Sanskrit, it's written in 2 lines, 16 syllables, 16 syllables. When we write it in English, to make it a little easier, because we'll put 8 syllables, 8 syllables, 8 syllables, 8 syllables. And they're all together, it's usually the verses are 32 syllables. So when it ends, at the end of the Sanskrit line, which would be the end of the second line or the end of the 4th line, you do this funky thing where you take the vowel that's before it and you'd say it again. Roma Harshinihi. Roma Harshanihi. The I goes again. And that's the only part where we have to do that for this verse. Okay. How do I do this thing? How do I? Okay. Can you give me just a little second? As I was saying, I was logged in on the phone and then I moved over here to the bedroom, to the computer. And now it's giving me a timer. Here, maybe we'll pass it to Kylie. Make you the host. Maybe that will work. Because you have press your. Is that good? Sorry for the delay. So, Vipranam Romaharshinihi Pratipuja. Pratipuja. Thank you, thank you. Pratipuja. Everyone say thank you, thank you. Pratipuja. Pratipuja. Thank you, thank you. Okay, you're an old sage and you're surrounded by all these other some blue people, some all kinds of far out sages, and you say thank you, thank you. Pratipuja. Vachastesham Pravaktum Uprachakrame. Okay, so I'll read the translation. Ugrashrava Suta Goswami, the son of Romaharshana, being fully satisfied by the perfect questions of the Brahmanas, thanked them and attempted to reply. So it's very simple. It's not like a super deep verse that we're going to like have a lot to speak about. Purport. The sages of Naimisharanya asked Suta Goswami 6 questions. So he's answering them one by one. Okay, and we'll look at those 6 questions. The first 4 questions are going to be answered in this chapter. They'll be more in depth throughout the Bhagavatam, but they will be dealt with in this chapter. Purport. Okay, and this is also by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This is his translation says, the son of Murmaharshana, Suta or Ugashravas, delighted at the questions of the sages, respected their words, began to speak. So now he's upachakrame. He's attempting pravaktum, to reply. He's beginning to speak. Commentary. In the second chapter, there's a description of 3 items. So this is an overview of the second chapter right here in this commentary. There's the abhideya, the process. Alrighty. This is what I didn't want to happen. I don't know.
On top of mine, it says Zoom meeting 40 minutes.
Yeah, supposed to be like a pro account, but I don't know. We'll see.
You've been degraded.
We'll work it out. We'll have it all.
Well, if it just breaks down again, maybe you can just keep coming back, or it's
No, I think this will be the last time it breaks down. We'll be good.
okay.
Okay. So the first one, there's 3 things. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying there's 3 things in this chapter. There's abhideya, the process, which is bhakti. There's the goal. What's the goal of bhakti, Narayani? More bhakti. Super duper bhakti. Prema. That's why we say the goal and the means are the same. And the object of worship. Who are we bhaktas of? Krishna. And so that's all the commentary that is on this verse. Let's see, what are the 6 questions? Here we got, let me see, I have it here. Question 1, this is from the first chapter, previous chapter, text 9. Please explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be absolute and ultimate good for people in general. So there's so many, so much literature, so much scripture. What's the actual good thing for everyone? For the people in general. Question 2. There are many varieties of scriptures, therefore, O sage. This is in text 7 of, text 11, the previous chapter. Please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instructions their hearts may be fully satisfied. So what's the ultimate good and what is the essence? Very similar. Question 3. Why did the personality of Godhead appear in the womb of Devaki as a son of Vasudeva? They want to hear about Krishna's pastimes. And question 4. The Lord's transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and greatly learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please therefore speak to us who are eager to hear the adventures and perform his various incarnations. And so this is incarnations, like in the 3rd chapter, they start listing all these different incarnations, 3rd chapter, 1st canto. And so question 5, this is not going to be covered in chapter 2. Please narrate the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Godhead's multi-incarnations, such auspicious adventures and pastimes of the Lord, the Supreme Controller, are performed by his internal powers. Okay, let's see. What's the difference between question 4 and 5? Okay, 4 is about Krishna's pastimes with his external energy. Does anybody know what that means? Carlos? What is Krishna's pastimes with his external energy? Carmen. Carmen is Ashramite. We're going to pick on you.
External. My mind is not working. Okay, so external,
external energy is, you have these 2 main energies of Krishna. One is conscious and one is not.
Right. I'm here thinking like Radharani and Krishna.
Yeah, that's the internal energy. So like Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, although they are on earth, they're Krishna's pastimes with his internal energy. They're just like a play of what goes on in the spiritual world. But Krishna's creating the universe, like he lies down in the causal ocean and bubbles like universes come out of his pores with one breath, one exhalation lasting 311 trillion, 40 billion years. All these universes are coming out of his body. And when one inhalation, they merge back into his body. And then he enters into each universe in a much, much smaller form. That form is so small, it's just the size of one universe. Imagine the form before. It's like so big that universes are coming out of his pores. And so he lies down on the Garbhodaka ocean, and lotus flower blooms from his belly button. You can look at your belly button, nothing usually happens. But for him, lotus flower comes, and Brahma, he is called Aja. He is unborn. He means he didn't have a mother. He was just born directly from Lord Vishnu. And then he enters into a third. These are called the 3 Paramatmas. He enters into each atom and into the heart of each creature. All beings, all bacteria, viruses, and all that, everywhere. Enters in the heart of everybody. And so that 4th question is these pastimes with his external energy. And the 5th question is pastimes with his internal energy. And here we go. Last question, number 6. Krishna has now departed. Where has Dharma gone? Where do all the religious principles? Where do they go? Where do they go to take shelter? And so there we go. Those are the 6 questions. A little bit more about memorization. Some of the elements that we use. We often we may act out different things, like we said that. What is that? What was it? Pravaktum? What was it that we did? Pratipuja. Pratipuja. Thank you. Pratipuja. Sometimes we act out the words. Sometimes we, especially if they're visual. Urdhvam, Moolam, upward roots, Adha, Shakam, downward branches. It helps our brain get this together. Anything else? Any other elements do you remember? Edward, Carlos, we sometimes we'll do the first line many times, and we'll add the next line, do it many times, and we'll just keep on adding it together. Sometimes the first 2 lines and then the second 2 lines. Who else remembers? Kylie Brown, Dana Kay. What other tools do you use? I've got a big one.
I like writing it down, on just a small piece of paper and putting it places where I'm going to see it. Or sometimes I'll just write it like 3 or 4 times without looking and see if I get it right.
That's really good. Yeah. Our Srila Prabhupada, he said, to write means to remember. We all, the previous chapter says, we're Manda Bhaga Manda Sumanda. See, this is a perfect example of it. It means we're very forgetful. Manda means slow. Like if you have a friend named Amanda, that means sharp, quick. Melody, yes. Narayani says also we use these melodies. We sing it, becomes easier. If you overemphasize those long syllables, it helps you to catch that melody. Overemphasize, you see the long A there. Iti samprashna samhrishno vipranam romaharshanehi pratipuja vachaste sham pravaktum uprachakrame. That's another thing we do. Yeah, when we sing it. Yoga Maya. Yeah, we have, what was it? What was that an answer to the external energy and internal energy, Karuna?
I think so.
So acting it out, but here's a really big one. Sashali, if you want to memorize this, a whole chapter, this is a big one. Got to call somebody and tell it to them. Got to call a friend and say, hey, I'm doing this thing. And, can I wrap it off to you? They're like, yeah, here, tell me, what is it? And then they're going to ask, well, what does it mean? And then, that's really good. That's what it really sets in, is when you really, because as we mentioned before, those who are new to this class, we generally don't try to do rote English memorization. We try to look at, have a memorization of the meaning of the words and be able to remember what the verse is about. We're not translating Sanskrit because we don't know all the grammar, but if we know the words, and if we've read the verse, we read the purport, we read the commentaries, we heard as much as we could as we can on those verses, then we'll remember the meaning of those words and be able to give an authentic presentation of it. So now I've talked a whole lot. Let's just practice. Karuna, you want to give it a shot? You want to start us off? And we'll go on mute, but we'll all recite out loud as she leads the charge.
Okay, so what should I do?
So you say, so the first line doesn't really have a melody. You just say, Vya Suva Cha, and then you recite the.
So how many times?
Do the first line 3 times, and then do the first line and the second line 3 times.
Okay. Vyasa uvata, vyasa uvata, vyasa uvata.
You got give a, like, even though you can't hear us, say like this. I'll give you an example. Vyasa vacha. And we'll just skip Yasuvacha, because we don't need to practice that. That's that'll be easy. Iti samprashna samhrishto. And then I'll pause, even though everybody will be on mute because it will start going all over. The sound will be kind of hard to hear. And then I'll say it again. So you say iti samprashna samhrishto 3 times, but give a pause after each one.
Okay. Each word.
The whole line. Yeah.
Iti samprashna samhristo. Iti samprashna samhristo. Iti samprashna samhristo.
And as you hear here, Karuna, there's different melodies. So let's have Karuna chant the whole verse so we can hear the melody that it's going to be sung in.
Okay. Rasa vacha iti samprashna samhristo vipranam maharshanihi pratipuja vachastesham pravaktum upachakrame.
Very nice. How about we get Kylie? Give it a shot.
Hare Krishna. So you want me to leave a space for everyone to repeat, or just the whole thing?
Give a space. Give a space.
Okay. Vyasuvacha iti samprashna samhristo vipranam romaharshanihi harshinihi harshanihi pratipuja vachastesham pravaktum upachakrame.
Okay, Edward, you want to give it a run through?
Okay. Iti samprashna samhrishto. Vipranam Ramaharshinihi. Pratipuja vajastesham. Pravaktum upachakrame.
Okay, I'll do first two lines. I'll do a little slow because some people are like, oh, this is fine, and then some people are like, my God, they're doing this. How do they do this so fast? Iti samprashna samhrishto vipranam romaharshanihi iti samprashna samhrishto vipranam romaharshanihi iti samprashna samhrishto vipranam romaharshanihi. So we're on week 6. In the class, we'll practice verse 6, but at home, you'll recite 1 through 6. So imagine, this is 6 weeks, and you're chanting this verse 1. Even after this class, you'll feel like, oh wait, it's not really so strong. But throughout the week, you can say it several times. But then week 2, you're going to say verse 1 and 2 in your practice. Week 3, you're going to say 1, 2, and 3. Week 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Week 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Week 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to go like that. You're going to go through all. Kylie Brown's got her hand up.
Yes, I just have a pronunciation question. Roma Harshanihi, or is it Roma Harshanihi, or is it how would you pronounce the S with the dot? It's the third line technically. Roma Har, the S with the dot underneath it, and then it's followed by an A. Would that be pronounced Roma Harshanihi or
Shanihi?
Shanihi.
That's the
Thank
N.
you.
That's the S that's in Krishna, and the N that's in Krishna also. And see that dot with underneath the N. Krishna. Krishna. Roma Harshanihi. Yeah.
Thank you.
Carmen has her hand raised. There you go. Go for it. Tell us.
So the M, is it like with the dot? It's like te sheng, like sing, or te shum, like
From what I remember, it's like, yeah, you got to put it on. Think of that like a donut or something, like Tei Sheng.
okay.
Something very yummy. Tei Sheng.
Okay.
All right. And then, okay, let's keep on going. The next verses, they look long, 2 and 3, but they're so nice. They're like a you're gonna be a hip hop rap star with these verses. Like Yum Parvanch, they're really fun. But I was intimidated, but once I chanted, I was like, wow, these are nice. Okay.
I'll be happy doing that, but I just don't know which meter to recite it in.
Oh, the Brahma Samhita.
Oh.
The 2 and 3 are Brahma Samhita meter.
Oh.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah, it's really fun. Iti samprashna samhrishto.
Samhrishto.
Vipranam Roma Harshinihi. Iti samprashna samhrishto.
Samhrishto.
Vipranam Roma Harshinihi. Pratipuja Pachastesham. Pratipuja Vachastesham. Pravaktum Upachakrame. Pravaktum Upachakrame. Pravaktum Upachakrame. Ethan, lead us the way. Take us back to Godhead. If you're free. Narayani. Narayani is...
Vyasa Uvacha, shall I leave a break?
Yes.
Off?
Yeah.
Iti samprashna samrishto.
Iti samprashna samhrishto.
Vipranam Roma Harshanihi. Pratipuja Vachastesham. Pravaktum Upachakrame.
Pratipuja. I'm thanking them. I don't know if it's saying thank you, but it has something to do with thank you. Palo Santos. You want to give it a shot?
Yeah. Vyasa
Yasuvacha.
Iti samprashna samristo.
Iti samprashna samhrishto.
Vipranam Roma Harshanihi.
Vipranam Roma Harshanihi.
Pratipuja Vachastesham.
Pratipuja Vachastesham.
Pravaktum Upachakrame.
Pravaktum Upachakrame. Thank you. Dana K.
Oh boy. Yasa Uvacha.
Yasa Uvacha.
Iti samprashna samhrishto.
Iti samprashna samhrishto.
Vipranam Roma Harshanahi.
Vipranam Roma Harshanehi.
Priti Puja Vachastesmi.
Vachastesham.
Praktum Upachakrame.
Pravaktum Uprachakrame. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
Do you find it a lot more easier than it was a year ago?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I will give it a yes.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes after this one. Thank you.
Let's see. Is Ethan available? Pan. We haven't heard from Pan. My favorite book character. Reminds me of Krishna. What does Peter Pan do? He's an eternal being who just plays and has adventures in the forest, and he marks himself with like tilak, with like marks and stuff, and he fights the bad guys. You know, there's some mystic power stuff happening around too, some flying around. Love it. Okay, Ethan Pan. Let's see. Edward's got his hand up. Yes.
The word pratipuja, the puja, is that the same as like puja, the word that's sometimes used like worship?
I don't know, because it has a Y there.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
So you can click on the word, and we can. Okay, it says you look at it's. If you click on the word, you'll see 5 different.
Oh yeah.
It says thanking them, offering respects, congratulating, offering respect, and puja is a form of offering like worship, respect. Okay, I'll remove the word puja. I'll just type in prati, and I'll just put it to not exact word, but contains or starts with. We'll see what does prati mean, because I've heard this before. Prati abda, every year. Prati daily, every word, every syllable. Counter each limb. Okay,
So yeah, I looked up puja, and it says respectable or worshipable.
Okay. And prati, this is like not, good Sanskrit, like, this is just like guessing. But prati, it seems like it's referring to each person, because if you look at the word prati, it's like many times it's saying like everyone, every limb, every this. So he's like, he's showing respect to everyone. And yeah, puja, worshipable. I see that there. After thanking them. So he's thanking each one, like he's saying thanks to everyone. Prati puja. So yeah, you gotta go like that. Thank you, everyone. Prati puja. You just, every day, just, say to, go in front of an altar, look at, all the Goswamis and Acharyas, and Prati puja, Prati puja. Nice.
Yep.
Narayani, you want to go for it again?
I can do that. Vyasauvacha.
Vyasauvacha.
Iti samprashna samrishto.
Iti samprashna samhristo.
Vipranam rao maharshanihi. Pratipuja vachastesham.
I got it.
Upachakrame.
With their eyes closed, say the first line. Iti samprashna samhristo. Somebody want to do it on the mic? Want to give it a try? Dasha Lee?
Yes,
Uvacha iti samprashna samhishto.
Very good, very good. And the Vipranam Roma Harshanihi.
Vipranam Maharshanihi.
Nice, nice.
Yati puja vachastesham. Pravaktumu pachakrame.
Very nice, very nice. Vishvatomukam, want to give it a try? You want to?
Vyasa Uvacha
Vyasa Uvacha
Iti Samprashna Samhrishto
Iti Samprashna Samhrishto
Anamro Maharshinihi
Vipranam Ramaharshinihi
Pratipuja Vachastesham
Pratipuja Vachastesham
Avaktum Upachakrame.
Pravaktum Uprachakrame. Very nice, very nice. Well, usually when I taught these classes, there were chapters that I had already memorized, but I'm working on this with you. So I think I've got up to verse 8 memorized. Would you want me to recite it? A little practice? Okay, so you can just Vyasuvacha Iti Samprashna Samhrishto Vipranam Maharshanai Pratipujastachastesham Pravaktum Upachakrame Yam Pravajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipanyo Virha Katara Adjuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Vinedus Tansarva Bhutam Hridayam Munam Antosmi Yam Swanubhavam Akilam Shutasaram Ekam Adyatma Deepam Atirshitam Tamandam Samsarinam Karuna Yaha Purana Guhyam Tam Vyasasunam Upayami Guruna Muninam Narayanam Namaskritya. That's the one you guys always hear. Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devam Saraswatam Vyasam Katojayam Udirayet Murya Sadhu Prishtoham Babadvir Lokamangalam Yat Krita Krishna Samprashno Yenatma Suprasiditi Sarvepam Samparo Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Adhokshaja. Karuna knows this one. Ahaitaki Apritihata Yayatma Suprasiditi. That's probably the most memorized verse in the Bhagavatam. I think it's a very important verse. Then Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Paryojita Janati Asyu Vairagyam Ganachadyat Ahaitukam. And then in the next one, some kind of Dharma Swashtino Pumsa Vivikshena Katasuyat Not Pade Yadiratim Shama Eva Hikevalam. That's a famous line right there. If you do religious stuff, but you're not getting any bhakti, Shrama Eva Hikevalam. You're just wasting your time. You're just working hard for nothing. Doing all these austerities, doing all these things, and you're not getting devotion. Shrama Eva Hikevalam. A useless waste of time. What's the next one? Anyone looking at it? Dharmasya Apavaryasya Narto Kalpate something Dharmasya Kantasya Smitaha something. They're very beautiful the way they flow very nice. Like look at verse 3. Look at verse 3. Yaswanu Bhava Makilam Shutasaram Ekam. It's like, dropping the bars. It's like hit the rap star. Yam Swanu Bhava. So this second verse, Yam Parvajantam. That's a Pravirajikacharya. This kind of wandering. Yam Parvajantam. Vraja also means like to go. Like, what is this famous verse? What's one of the famous verses in the Bhagavad Gita? Surrender unto me. Karuna?
Ye tamam prapadyante tansateva bhajami hamam apad manuvartate manushya partha sarvasya.
And then there's Sarvascha. No. 1866. What's 1866? That's
Sarvadharman purchaja mamekam shernam praja
Raja. Yeah. Yeah. So pravajantam. Yam pravajantam anupetam apeta kritam. He had no upeta. He had no Brahman thread. No upanaya. He just left home, like naked. He just left everything. And I like this. Is putreti tanmayataya tara. What the second line is? Vyasa. He's like feeling this separation from his son Sutta Goswami, and he's saying, "Putreti, my son." He's walking away. He's just leaving, going to the forest. Putreti man tanmayataya taravo vinedus. And the only thing that's responding is the echo. The echo. He just hears the trees responding in the form of echoing. So it's like very poetic. Yam swanubhavam akilam sutasaram ekam. Swanubhavam. He's completely he's completely taken all the spiritual knowledge. Swanubhavam akilam. The whole akilam, complete. Yaswanubhavam akilam shuta saram ekam. Shuta means the spiritual knowledge that you hear, and sara means the essence. Shuta saram ekam. Adyatma deepam. What is this deepa? Deepa. It's a lamp. So the light for the soul. Adyatma deetam. Atitirti shitam. Look at this one. That's like, it took a while to figure out how to say that. Atiti tirshatam tamandam. I think this is the third verse. Atiti tirshatam tamandam. Anda means like a dark well, this covered well.
Maybe a little potato, a little sweet potato, and a little cranberry.
And there are sweet potatoes in this well. Tamandam. Sansarinam. Okay. So let's do it one more time. I'm getting this countdown again. We'll figure it out next week. So we got 4 minutes. Iti samprashna samhrishto. Iti samprashna samhrishto. Iti samprashna samhrishto. Iti samprashna samhrishto. Vipranam ramaharshinihi. Vipranam ramaharshinihi. Iti samprashna samhrishto. Vipranam ramaharshinihi. Iti samprashna samhrishto. Vipranam ramaharshinihi. Pratipuja vachastesham. Pratipuja vachastesham. Pravaktum uprachakrame. Pravaktum upachakrame. Pravaktum upachakrame.
Pravaktum upachakrame.
Iti samprashna samhrishto. Vipranam ramaharshani. Nihi.
Samprashna samhrishto. Vipranam ramaharshani.
Iti samprashna samhrishto. Vipranam ramaharshini. Pratipujas vachastesham. Pravaktum uprachakrame.
Iti samprashna samhrishto. Pranam Maharshini Parati Puja Vacham Bhava.
I got a minute left. About a minute left. Kylie Brown, give us a chant. See how far you can get.
Iti samprashta samhrishto vipranam romaharshanihi
Prati.
pratipuja pratipuja vachastesham pravaktum upachakrame.
Nice. So I got less than a minute left. I think we'll stop here. But if you're not on the WhatsApp group, join the WhatsApp group, and you can set up times to practice. Kylie is gonna connect with Carlos and finish chapter 7. And but we can practice more there. And if you have any questions, anything you want to share, but there's just a little bit in this verse. There'll be a lot more. Other verses will be a lot more juicy, a lot of stuff. Karuna's got her hand raised. Haribo, anything you want to say before we go? We got like a second left.
It looks like we still have 10 more minutes.
Oh, I'm running out of time. It's gonna run a minute out. It's gonna be done. I'll come back on and I'll show you our